When looking back at my original script, I realised I had written it as if it was a scene from a feature-length film, so after a bit of rewriting, I adjusted it so that it had a short story. I was heavily inspired by film noir when studying it in Xavier's module. Um, I looked at some of the elements from the genre when writing my script. I took the role of the lead police officer that you often see in these films. I also made it black and white. Um, I also wanted Chase's dream world to look different to the real world, and using black and white was the perfect choice. I don't use the film noir connotations all the way through, but even when you're watching Chase's reality, I tried to give it a surreal spin because I found it interesting. In retrospect, it probably isn't one of the most original ideas. I feel it wasn't as detailed as I hoped it would be. The continuity isn't consistent, especially with the protagonist's cigarette. I did have an afterthought about that and decided that it could work, as it is a dream world and continuity possibly had no place there. I watched an interview with Richard Ranking on YouTube, and he says that it's very important in a short film that the main character has the power to make things happen. I listened to this, and for a while I wrote Chase, my lead protagonist, trying to figure out what's happening with the murders, and I had him trying to catch the killer, but then I flipped it on its head with him being insane and living in a deluded dream world. He isn't really a policeman, he never has been, he's just this insane man believing he is, and he has no control over what's happening to him. I chose to do the complete opposite of what Richard Rankin had mentioned because I tried to see if this would still work or not. I suppose you could call it a twist. But yeah, it's a twist. And I mean, everything I built up about this character I took away very suddenly. And I suppose you could say that I play on the role of sympathy after you've found out what is really going on. Fear is a major factor in this also. A protagonist undergoes the biggest change, and in this short film, the biggest change would be for the audience as my lead character. It would be for the audience as my lead character supposedly stuck in his own imagination. The big change would be the audience finding out that what you think is real isn't really what's going on. I mean, is it clear what's going on? When re-watching my film, I feel it could have been better understood with more dialogue from my character and not just his inner monologue. I could have added a phone call or something, or maybe an extra person in the office with him, which the phone call, I did actually have the phone call in my original script, but I scrapped that idea in the rewrite. A lot of the story is left for the audience to work out by themselves, with only the footage to go on and not much information. Saying this, the style of the film and music in the reality scene speaks for itself. The saying, less is more, comes to mind. Could an audience relate to my character? Becoming insane and not realising is a common fear with everyone. You believe Chase is a normal average man who is just trying to get by in this world, stuck on a problem at work, and that relates to most people, and the audience is comfortable with this scenario until the film flips and shows the big reveal, and after that as a viewer you become agitated because they were relating to the character so well, and now he is shown to be actually insane. This is where sympathy comes in. You feel bad for the guy, and inside you're wishing this never happens to you. If you couldn't relate to the character, were you still engaged with the film? The music I chose does highlight what's going on in each scene. I'm very happy with the music choices that I made. I have two different scores, and I feel they both accent what I'm trying to depict in Chase's imagination and what is happening in his reality. You do get engaged with what's happening. The music carries you through to the end. I used cross dissolve in the After Effects a lot because I like the way it hints at the passage of time. The short film isn't necessarily linear. You're not really sure how long he has been stuck like this for, how long he's sort of been thinking these thoughts of himself being a policeman. I have managed to turn expectations around from the beginning to the end. Yes, I believe the story ends up in a completely different place from where I started. This is what I was aiming for. I didn't want the film to end in a way that the audience would expect, and I believe this was achieved. The short film catches your attention right at the close and leaves you thinking about it afterwards.